Hello people, and welcome back to part 9 of Noveria, our Cities Skylines snow build. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. Thank you so much for all the kind comments, suggestions and support on the last time out. We had a really nice time putting together our first green cities canal neighbourhood here, and it's a nice start to it. And I think we all had a nice time, and this has been a theme I really like in Cities Skylines. Green cities with canals always complement each other really nicely. Getting people using these walking paths too, which is always satisfying, right? Trolley buses moving around as well. Of course, some repeated green city spice. Always appreciated. Very nice indeed. And this is going to be a nice base for us to start continuing to build out Noveria's canal network as it flows through the downtown. And then possibly out over to the coast here as well, over to the Egg Castle Island. When eventually we get over there, but quite a while away from that yet. However, what I want to work on today is, again, not particularly a specific build, but a transition, a theme on how we can make high-density residential look good. Because when it's mass-zoned and we don't put care and attention into it, it looks very ugly. And at least for me, it takes a lot of the enjoyment out of the game. It really ruins the aesthetic of my cities. So that's what I want to do today. I want to work on these spaces here, continue to bring in these kind of tower, they're not really tower blocks are they? I guess it's like apartment blocks. Continue to bring that aesthetic over into these lands here, get some nice kind of canal side apartments moving along here, lots of decoration and pathways of course. I think we can have a discussion about how we can use some elevated road infrastructure alongside high density residential to help improve it. And then I also want to sink down and terraform this train system here today as well. And then build some high-density residential around these trains. And also perhaps some desirable repeated spice within this little narrow strip of land where we have. And the goal of today is to continue to introduce that very gradual crawling height, which we are starting to see appear now. You know, if we kind of sit back in this suburb here, we can see the green cities build we did last time out and the stadium. We're just starting to see some larger buildings on that skyline. Let's get started on how to make high-density residential look good, shall we? Okay, so let's first have a look at ripping out all of this current train infrastructure. And we're going to terraform this down into a little sunken ditch. Lots of overgrowth opportunities here as well. Some rocks possibly too. Let's have a little look at how deep we actually want to go here. So let's start sinking down. Possibly by that much. Come down to our smaller brush size as well here too. And I don't usually terraform up against the side of canals, so it'd be interesting to see what kind of look this generates. The water is coming through slightly. So I think, is the canal leaking? Is that going to stop? Let's hope so. Might have to give it a little more breathing room than that, but we'll find out together, alright? Okay, so this is also going to help increase the height of this American Truss Bridge, of course, which will give us much more kind of dense looking infrastructure. Help contribute to that high density vibe. Alright. See how I feel. I think we might go even a touch shallower. Alright, let's maybe bring some of that soil back up against the canal too, so it's not totally seeping through. Okay, so there we go. We've amended these train lines now to also kind of brought the junction a little bit closer together so it's not taking up quite as much room. And then we can now level the terrain out around the bulk of this rail infrastructure. There we go. Okay. So let's bring it a touch in here too. Don't get too close up. Alright. So let's see how this American Truss Bridge will continue to flow over the area. I'm going to grab onto our road length and angle tools. And then we'll just keep this flowing as a reminder that we probably will have some kind of fancier, impressive arterial flowing through the downtown. Okay. Well, I think that's going to be just about what I'm after. There's possible walking path opportunities around here as well. If we were to come back down to earth, we can possibly have people walking over this as well. Let's have a very brief look at that idea. Yeah. So we keep feeding people from the downtown into the suburb via walking paths. So even now there's just lots of transport infrastructure starting to generate with this aesthetic here as well. So let's have a look at the road network over here. Probably have to remove this school. No, we should be okay. Okay, so let's come onto road guideline and start to align some roads up with this central one that runs parallel with the canal. Let's bring it down here in a couple of spots. Okay, and then if we're running with these assets again, these are all 4x4s. I think, right? I think most of them are. Yeah, all 4x4 assets. So we want to make sure that we're factoring that into our grid, of course. Let's come off the road guideline now. So 240, or increments of 240, are going to be our best friend for generating this palette in. So in terms of getting the high density stuff to look good, the road network really helps. And if you're playing without plop the growables, it's kind of essential. Otherwise you'll have a fairly bad time with it all. Let's kind of bring this road down onto the road guideline now, okay? And we'll start switching the angle of the grids here as well. Let's pop that over there. And we'll start to zone in some 4x4s. Of course, specific zoning is always going to be our friend with most things. The only time I think mass zoning high density residential is acceptable is with the green cities stuff, and that it's kind of hard to make it look ugly anyway, right? So we'll start to get in some waterfront apartment blocks here, okay? Let's keep these measurements going as well. Come off the road guideline while we're drawing out the network. Come out by 480 again, and then we'll do another 280, and then we'll pop back in this side. And then we'll also grab a couple more spots of high density res here as well. So I'm pretty sure we're still in the green cities district here. Yes, we are. Let's trim this back. We don't want these to be green cities. So again, I'm happy for these organic shapes to come in. I definitely like these little level 1 tower blocks. So you're suffering a little bit of noise pollution. You're okay. Maybe take you away then. Place with a few trees. Okay. Don't think I'm totally adverse to that at the minute. There's a few of these Art Deco looking ones that I'm not massive on for this part of the town, but we'll live with it for the time being. Okay, possibly a little further extension of the road network down here as well. Start to bring in some more of these larger shapes. And it's a case of running through and historicalizing, not sure on the adjective, the ones that we like. Apologies if you guys can hear the dog in the background. Coco is here. We'll try to set up a Coco cam for the live streams as well, by the way. I did have a look at it. So also start introducing some road shapes up against the rail as well. It's up until a sensible point, right? Okay. And again, just some more of our specifically zoned favourite shapes. 3x4s, 4x3s. All firm favourites. Okay, and here as well. I don't mind these ones. These are okay. I think probably what we will do is maybe let these Art Deco looking ones move up a couple of levels. And then we'll see what we think as well. In terms of parks, the tennis and the basketball courts always work nicely integrated with high density residential, I find. So we'll maybe save a little bit of room for these. And of course some classic Noveria greenbelt through these spaces here is always appreciated. Let's give them a few different connections at various points. Also through the middle here as well if we like. Can maybe snap into the grid just to throw off the centralization point here. Grab ourselves a touch of nature reserve fence. Alright, just split these in the grids. Maybe grab 1 or 2 taller trees. A couple of conifers here and there maybe. And then just place some of these larger numbers around. It's all nice and easy. And then maybe some more nature reserve fence in these areas too. And this will just serve as a nice border around those high density residentials. So I think for our first section here of high density residential, the point of sticking to your road length in measurements and your specific size zonings will go a long way in just helping bring a little more appeal into that high density res. And we'll come back as well once they've leveled up and see what they look like. Likewise here as well, we can now continue to bring in some of these shapes if we want. Let's maybe go for a little 2x2 here. Another 4x4 there. And then that green palette. It's going to lend itself tremendously well with our freeform tool anyway. To just help increase the walkability of the city. There's also opportunities for paths back and across to this other arterial as well, which we'll definitely get involved with. I think possibly some more shapes along here too. Alright. Maybe a little 3x3 in there, if we dare. Wonder if we can squeeze through here. Looks like we can. Let's just see how it's starting to appear. Oh no. These assets. These are horrible. I did not like these ones. I think maybe in a repeated pattern you can get away with them. But as a standalone, I don't know. Do I like it? Unsure. I don't think it's too bad actually. It's a very interchangeable opinion. Let's carry on introducing the green belt into the area. Let's stick to what we do though, which is that we do love green belt in Noveria. And then again, just some more of that faithful tree palette. Touch of overgrowth as well, just to help bring a little bit of texture into that snow. Okay. Cute. So we're starting to see this aesthetic develop now a little bit more. Of course, the layers of height against the rail are always going to help as well. Alright. Cool. Cool. So now we will move on to the point of how to make high density residential look good using repeated patterns and fancier road networks in order to kind of bring a little more appeal and jazz into our particular builds. Okay, so there's definitely something we can work with here. So we're going to be leaving a distance of 5 tiles between each of the roads here. Alright. Let's come back in and grab a different road, maybe the one with decorative trees as we enter into kind of the gated area, if you like. And then we'll continue it down to this area also. Okay. So also a repeated tree pattern. Let's have a look at maybe a line of birches to come through here as well. Let's go into a slightly wider spacing. I think this will be alright. And we'll start from the corners of the road. Bring them down here. And then the same again with this one. Let's make sure we're using the same road too. Let's bring this down just with the road length and angle. Okay. And then I want to start zoning up some patterns. Possibly going with these 4x4 Art Deco ones, but these ones aren't too bad either. Again, a lot of 4x4s are our good friends here. So yeah, the smaller ones get some slum vibes with these ones. Okay. So I think I'm going to go with specific asset selection, and then we'll have a look at how the power of a repeated pattern can help influence and change the way that our high density residential looks. And then again, between, we're going to come with a single part path down into the middle. Okay, and of course there's opportunities to continue that walkability of the city, even hook it into this walking network over here if we want. Bring this down and you can kind of see how it all starts to interconnect and whatnot. So we'll definitely factor that in. Looks like we're going to get one in straight away. Yes, it does. Okay, very nice. Can't really complain at that. So a repeated pattern of these up against a waterfront like this Certainly a possibility. And I think they all spawn in different colours, right? This one's like a green. What's this one over here? Yeah, this is like a baby blue. So you can even get almost like treat it as like a work of art that the city has commissioned. And how are we feeling up against this area now as well? Again, even these wouldn't work too badly in a repeated design, I don't think. It's really up to you. So many different possibilities, really. Okay. So I think I'm going to run with these little Art Deco ones. I think these are a favourite. And I'm going to run them in batches of 3. So I'll go for 1, 2, and 3. Pathway, and then again 1, 2, and then 3, and then pathway. Wait for these assets to come in. So we want to get another one in here, does it? Yes, it does. See, they're not actually taking that long to come in. And 2 greens next to each other as well. Yeah, they even border up nicely with the hedges here. Really helps contribute to that pattern. So we'll get these in across the entire waterfront, and then we'll see what we think. Okay, so these guys are all in. Again, a nice kind of mirage of colour. If you're really that bothered about getting in the repeated colour pattern, then of course you can be that picky if you have nothing else to do with your life, because that would take a long time. But I think from afar now, it's alright, and even as we're getting this drive-by on the elevated arterial, we're getting a nice sense of like a purposely built development, right? Okay. Now we can also repeat this design along this side as well, if we wanted to bring in these 4x4s, and would have the tree symmetry either side. But I think what we're also going to do is this is an example of when to use the paths with decorations. Even though they do merge into the housing asset a little bit, that's fine though. I think rather than place our own trees, because these assets are coming with their own trees in them, I think we can run this as sugar maple patterns down the road, okay? So a spice sample right here. We'll repeat this on this angle as well. And this should give us a very nice rundown along this road. Also down here as well, as to how a repeated pattern alongside kind of a more symmetrical arterial road network can help improve the look of our high density residential. So let's get these in. Of course, 4x4s are a friend. Oh, that's going to be off, isn't it? Oh, that's annoying. That's not going to sync up. Alright, we might just start here instead then. Yeah, that's right, isn't it? Yeah, okay, it is, yeah. We'll start there, that's fine. Yeah, let's get them in this side then, and then see what we think. So this is what our final product is looking like. And I don't think I hate it. There's definitely a gated community vibe with this. Okay, but there's our spice sample for this kind of design, right? Very symmetrical path and asset repetition. There's a bloke picking up the paths here now as well. It's always good to see. Where's he headed? Here he is. He's heading back into town. There's also trams over here too. Let's get the trams to stop just here. Okay, well, that'll serve these residentials here. That's going to make them more happy. And then I guess we'll repeat the design here as well, right? We might as well, while we are here. Guess so. Yeah, let's get them in here too. Alright. Let's come along nice with this now, I think. Let's also work on a little rock garden design, of course, to help bring people into the area. I actually wonder if we want to maybe come down this side instead. Let's grab the pathway. Let's maybe switch back to without decorations as we touch into the entrance of the build. Okay, a little something like that. And then let's grab our fencing again. Bring this down. Okay. Let's also repeat this idea over here as well. Again, where it's fairly pointless decoration when you're doing Path against road action, because of course they can just walk on the pavements, but it's an extra layer of bordering, an extra layer of symmetry, which is, if that's what you're going for in a build like this, then of course it's always appreciated. I think just a singular invasive palavan pine in either of these boxes, and we'll start to see something of a nice repeated high density pattern coming in. So this is another way outside of our organic zoning and green belt and parkland stuff to help our high density residential settle in a little more. We can then take it the opposite way and go very heavily repeated with pathways and assets and generate like a very specific development like this. Okay. So they do get a little bit of use, not totally pointless. And then we can definitely factor in, you know, all these people here picking up this tram stop already. Be interesting to see if we do actually flash this out with our Noverian greenbelt design. How many people are going to start picking this up as an option back in 2 from these residentials. Let's have a little experiment, shall we? Okay. Maybe even complement this green belt with some residential, with some commercial zoning as well. Okay. And it's not going to sink through there. That's way too narrow, but we'll see. See if anyone picks up these options through. Okay, yeah, they're all coming through here at the minute, aren't they? Which is fine. And there we go. So we'll start to pick these up. No. The worst. Literally the worst 2 commercial assets they really take away from the build. Let's wait for those to come in. There's a nice corner here as well. Possible post office here, actually. Possible, maybe. No, it's the wrong orientation. It's fine though. Alright. Lots of people walking around already. I do like the way that this tram just cuts over. It's nice to see the tram tracks come across at this angle, and it makes the junction look a little wider, a little more important. Okay, but trams are getting used now. Everyone's moving around. Very nice. And of course, we will save this for our detail time lapse. Let's make sure we give them some of the old Aquapura as well. Don't want them to disappear. Alright. Little Pancakes International store on the corner. That's quite nice. Possibly something here as well, just maybe bring a little more. If we delete this bike path as well, can we get something on this one? Yeah, okay. It was like a little commercial focus around this this junction here. Don't want too many zonings on it. Otherwise we'll start to get a little bit too busy, but just as decoration around the junction, we can use a little bit of commercial zoning. Okay. Very cute indeed. Very cute. So the last technique we're going to go with now is kind of running up with tower blocks and much larger high density residential around high density infrastructure like elevated walking paths, railways and elevated arterials. Let's have a look at how we can accommodate some high density res to sit around these themes and then see what we think of them. Just a cute functional side note here. I'm aware that this arterial road is kind of pointless because it's not linking into anything, and these residential assets are actually facing onto these roads. However, the AI seems to be still using it for parking. So you could almost use these kind of behind residential roads as parking roads, which keeps them off of this one. So just an interesting little note as to how the AI is reading this here. Not something I've ever really noticed before, but it's a parking road, right? Can't really complain. Okay, so let's start to have a look at the possibility of some railside tower block action and how this is going to fit within our city. So I kind of think snapping to the road guideline first of all is always going to be helpful. It's what road guideline do we want to snap to? That's going to be the question. Probably this one. Yeah, that's going to be a nice sensible thing, isn't it? So we're level with And this kind of centralized arterial that's coming down here. All right. And then let's start coming in with road length and angle instead. We'll start running in blocks of 240 because I'm after very enclosed 2x2s, 4x4s here. All right. Very heavy microgrids is the vibe. Now, I'm also wondering, is there a possibility of some elevated against elevated road action? If we were to bring an arterial through here, let's forget about the walking network for a second. Can we come under? Yes, we can. Okay, so what's the measurement here where we're coming down? 720. Let's repeat that on this side. How do we feel about that? Yeah, that is lots of transport infrastructure. This is like a triple decker. Alright, get cars and trains and stuff on this. Might even be able to still factor in those elevated walking paths. This might be getting a little bit ridiculous, but bear with me, alright? Let's see how this works. It is possible, yeah, it is possible. Let's come off road length here. Alright. Yeah. I kind of feel, is this me taking the piss? I'm not sure. It might be. I feel like, are we just elevating layers of transport height just because we can? Yeah, it would be quite the descent from here to here as well, wouldn't it? Oh, it's not too bad, actually. It's not too bad. It looks nice from above, too. I think we'll go for it. I think we'll with the idea. Alright. Okay. Cool. Alright, let's refine this idea then, because the road's a little dippy. Let's see what we think of this. Let's bring out our small arterial, or small road again, not small arterial. What's a road length? Alright. There we go, kind of raises up a little bit now. I think that's a little more palatable. Okay. Nice. We don't know where this road is going to go yet, so let's just draw it in right there. That'll be okay. And we'll probably pop on a little roundabout for this residential area, just so they have a little introductory road into here. Just go onto our freeform. I would like to have a couple of these back to back amongst these tower blocks. Yeah, so I'm after these tower blocks here. It's these ones that we want. These are leveling up as well. We want to make sure these don't get too out of hand and that we continue to historical the ones that we like. Of course, if you're playing with plot the growables, you don't need to worry about historicalizing them. So, is that a word? I feel like it's not. I feel like someone in the comments will let me know. This one's leveled up as well out of its eco building phase. This one's still waiting. Yeah, it's very much these ones. The taller high density res is what I'm after now. And I think the point of using the taller assets, kind of with today's episode being the point of how to make high density residential look better, is that the layers of depth that we're getting with the canal and the sunken rail here, plus the layers of transport infrastructure and the height of the residential building itself, especially with the snow maps, is giving us an incredible, almost unanticipated layer of depth. Okay? If that makes any sense at all. Any sense at all. Got some of our cemeteries filled up. Alright, let's get rid of these guys. Get the collapse tool. I'll show this outside. I don't think I've ever shown this on an episode. This has been a live stream trick. Don't wait for your cemeteries to empty out. If you have the natural disasters DLC, come into your disasters, use collapse. The building will collapse. And then delete it, and then just place a new one. It is a lot faster than waiting for them to empty. I'm also going to complement the residential squares with a little bit of commercial here as well. We're getting that demand creep up. We'll have convenience store in here too. Alright. It's not bad. I'm fairly happy with that. Let's also repeat these tiny little mini squares on this side as well. Let's bring out a road, possibly there too. Alright, let's get them in. And this will probably bring us to a nice sensible closing point for today's episode. We're starting to burn through a lot of this residential demand now and getting some industry. So possible ore build for next episode actually. We do want to do a big ore industry over here. So maybe work on that next episode. Or maybe an office park. Let me know in the comments whether you guys want an office park build or a ore industry build to satisfy that industrial demand. We'll see what we can do. Okay. Very nice. These guys do actually need a road connection, don't they? That would be helpful. Let's come on to our freeform here. Alright. Get a nice little connection in there. We'll wait for these to level up, if not refine. The touch of plot the growables to get the assets in that we want. Yeah, so that's what we're after. This nice drive-by with the flats looking out over the road now. Okay. Very nice indeed. I think I'm fairly happy with that. Cool. These guys will need earthquake sensors and water, of course. Just used a couple of earthquake sensors here to sync the power through. And we'll eventually have total synchronization, but whilst this is a new build, we will have to wait a little bit of time. Let's have a quick scan over our services. We do need schools and elementary, or high schools and elementary rather, don't we? Yes, we do. Okay. So we'll definitely have to get some school park designs in here, and possibly along here for this one. Let's have a little play with this design. Let's come onto our road tool. Alright, let's throw in a high school and gymnasium. Always works nicely here as well. Let's have a look how we want this orientated. Possibly up onto this angle here, maybe. Yeah, I think that'll be nice. Okay. And then maybe we can let's take this connection off. We'll continue to mold the road network around some of these school assets. We'll also throw in a elementary school as well, which is the majority of the demand is over here. So this will be nice. Let's continue to bring out this kind of separated road. Go for an elementary school. And then bring it out a touch further. And complement with park asset. Be a large playground here too. Okay. Nice. Okay. So guys, that does feel like a good place for a detailing time-lapse. We have some elevated walking paths to bring over this infrastructure, which will implement some asset refinement with plot the growables to get rid of these Art Deco ones where we want some of our high-rises to come in, which will help frame this arterial quite nicely as well, I think. Lots of green belt to introduce, some roundabout decoration of course, and lots of pathways to bring over the rail line to keep the city as walkable as possible. And then just some other general little housekeeping bits that need to be done. Need to terraform this out and bring the key back around under the metro line and hook this cycle pathway back in as well, and decorate up our tram stop too. So let's decorate up and I'll be right back. Okay guys, that is going to do it for today. I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, a like below is always appreciated. Even as much if you haven't enjoyed it, please feel free to leave a dislike as well. I hope that today has maybe given you a couple of ideas of different directions you can take your high density residential rather than just gridding up and then mass zoning. Today we've had a look at some organic zoning using those very repeated road length measurements of 280 and 440, how a very heavily repeated pattern can be used to satisfy some of that residential demand, and also terraforming around much denser looking infrastructure like elevated arterials, train lines and elevated walking paths can all contribute to making our high density residential look a little more appeasing on the eye. Indeed, if you do have any of your own suggestions or techniques about how you handle high density residential, please throw them down in the comments below so I can read them alongside others. But otherwise, I will shut up. I will leave it there. I want to thank you all so much for watching. And as always, enjoy the rest of your day.